Welcome back to the Let's Actuate podcast. We're doing our building in public segment. And what we announced the last time is that we've split it up. So now the co founders that are working on Actuate they have their own little podcast. And then for us at XI, we have our own podcast. So it's me, Nicole today, and Carolina. And yeah, I found this post on LinkedIn and we're going to discuss it.
Go for it.
So I sent this to Carolina last night on LinkedIn and I was like, this could be a great podcast topic. So it's a post from Greg Eisenberg and it says Instagram will give you body dysmorphia, make you think you're not fit enough. Twitter will give you entrepreneur dysmorphia, thinking that making you think your business is not doing well enough. The reality is most people aren't as good looking fit as they may seem. Drugs to get fit are becoming the norm, and most businesses aren't doing well as they make it seem. Fake screenshots are becoming the norm. None of it matters. You compete against yourself and not anyone else. Life and business is a personal scorecard for you, not for anyone else. As soon as you realize that, you're finally able to focus. It gives you a wonderful sense of clarity. Your products get better, your creatives get more unique, and you end up wasting less time. Try it. Beat the person you were last week.
Love it. Love it because
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting. It's a topic that we were talking about too right before starting recording. And I think how important it is to like to compete against yourself, because if you keep comparing yourself with what's out there, you're just never going to make it, because you're always going to find someone else that's doing better than you, and you're going to feel like, oh my god, I want to get to that next level. So you're never going to reach it, which is good in a sense, right? But you also have to be realistic and compare yourself to what's real, that it's out there, because a lot of the things that we see, especially in social media, it tends to be the ideal, right? But let me give you an example. Like I've seen a couple people, more than a couple people, like being very very into filters on social media, and it's just like a completely different person. When you get to see them in person, you're like, okay, so what's going on here? Where's the disconnect? And I have a couple of, a couple of people that I personally know, that they just like pure filters everywhere, and it's like I think to myself, don't you think that when they know your person, they're gonna wonder, is that you? Because it's just an like excessive amount of things of trying to show yourself in a particular way that you're not. So you're just not being authentic. You're just portraying yourself as someone else. So we have to be very careful, very intentional on who we are comparing ourselves to, because that's not necessarily even the reality. So I think a good um, thing to put in practice is how do you see yourself today in comparison to what you did last week or last year, how you're evolving as a person, how you're evolving in your business, what you're doing, what are you doing that it's moving the needle closer to where you want to be, right? Like it's even the little steps, the little things that you do every single day. Like if I don't feel like doing outreach this week, if I don't feel like talking to all of these companies, is that going to get me closer to my goal, or it's just gonna take me down a spiral and a whole week passed by, I didn't do anything? Do you think that by not outreaching, and this is for me, right? Do I feel like by not outreaching to all of these companies that I want to, is that getting me closer? No, no, it's not. So I have to think about, even if it's just the smallest decisions on a single day basis, is this getting me closer, even if I don't feel like doing it, right? It's like when you wanna you know you have to work out, but you don't want to work out because it's like, oh my god, I'm so tired, I'm sore from the day before, or whatever excuse you tell yourself, right? This is not like, but then after you do it, you're like, oh my god, you feel so good about it, and you're like, yes, it feels good. Like, you have to keep reminding yourself of the feeling afterwards, that once you achieve that little task or that little thing that you were regretting and you didn't want to do, and then you finally did it, and it's like, oh, okay, this feels great. I think for me personally, I have to latch onto that feeling afterwards, because that's what keeps me going. Even though, and on the opposite side, when I don't do things and I, like, for whatever reason, I have a goal for the day, I don't reach the goal, I fall short of my goal. It's not the same feeling. It's like, oh my god. And then you start questioning, like, is this even conducive to where I want to be? Is this actually taking me to where I want to be, or am I in some way cheating myself? Right. And I think it's so important to hold ourselves to a specific standard, because it's so easy for you to say yes to a friend or yes to anyone else and hold that promise to someone else, but to yourself you don't. It's like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, oh, I'll do it later, oh, I'll do it. But the person that you have to be most um disciplined with is yourself. If Because if you're not capable to holding yourself accountable for things that you said you were going to do, what do you expect to do for somebody else, right? So I think that's interesting that we're going through these, not necessarily interesting, but it's the post that you sent me last night. It was like, oh my god, this is exactly what we're going through right now, and it's good and it's refreshing to see that a lot of people resonate with it. A lot of people are thinking the same things, and it's, we're not just the only ones. It's becoming, even though we say a lot that more people are into being real, also I think with social media a lot of people are into being fake and show what seems good, what's like, oh, how wonderful everything is going, and that's not the reality. They're just lying to position themselves.
It's like, I wonder if you feel this too, but it's like very powerful too. It feels like a power and a thing that we have now that we can completely, it's a false fallacy, but we have these tools to control people's, control, I'm putting in quotes, perceptions of us. And you can get really lost in it because at the end of the day, you choose what you present on these platforms.
Yeah.
And then when you get, when you're choosing that, and then you take these like little mental notes of what is getting the most validation,
Yeah, because
and it
you're
just
just gonna
trajects
find
you.
something you're not.
Yeah, and
Right?
it's a cycle of being like, oh, this is what people want and like and to see of me. And but then being authentic is like, the people that are genuinely authentic, I feel, have sustained like success, and I appreciate that. Like this Greg this Greg Eisenberg guy that I found on LinkedIn, his all of his posts seem very genuine. Still at the end of the day, it's, we have this ability to control the perception, you know? And I think that's where I personally get lost in it, because when I am out here and someone, even in person, when people present themselves as like this thing and this concept, once I get deeper into it, I realize that no one is ever like this perfect thing. And there's like, stuff behind it that's not always like what's presented out into the public. So I don't know, everything's just not as cool as it seems.
I don't think it's ever gonna be right. Like, I'm sure every person has their own flaws, and that's part of being a human, right? No one's gonna be perfect. Um, but maybe like what you're saying, when someone introduces himself and like you're meeting new people, you try to show your best self. You try to show your nice side, per se. I don't personally know or think that someone would on purpose show a horrible side of them, because that will make them uh, unlikable or not a person that you want to be around. And I think a lot of people don't necessarily want that. They want to show themselves how they are, but they want to show you the nice side of things. So you kind of, it's like when you start a relationship, you're in the first couple weeks or months or whatever, and you're just gonna get to see the really nice side of this person that you are getting to know and that you're falling in love with. And then the more time passes, you're gonna start discovering all of these other facets within their personality. And it's normal. Like, no person is gonna be perfect, and it's part of being human. And it's just a matter of accepting and dealing it with it too, because you as a person are not perfect either. So I'm sure I have things that probably people around me don't agree with, but they didn't get to see those probably at first sight. Like, they probably saw them later on. Um, but it's this is part of how we socialize, right? Or unless, have you heard of those, like, uh those phrases that are like, "Oh, when I first saw you, I just didn't like you."
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Or,
just
or
like.
or when someone tells you how they felt about you on the first impression, and then it makes you, I don't know, it makes me feel uncomfortable because I'm like, interesting.
I have really good friends of mine that they're like, "Oh, when I met you, I thought you were this, or I thought you were, I didn't like you at all, or I didn't like this," and whatever it is, right? And then we become great friends, and we just laugh about that.
Yeah. Because yeah, I have friends like that too, where I'm like, when I first met you, I didn't think that we were gonna be this close. Like,
Yeah,
and now we're besties.
yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
It's part of being human. It's who you are, how you conduct yourself, and it's okay. I think I'm all for being genuine, if anything. And if
Hmm.
you don't like what I say or how I say it because you differ with my point of view, that's fine. Every person, it can have their own point of view. The only thing that I believe it's important to, for me, to take along the way is just being genuine. I'm not for. I hate when I meet people and they're like, the other day actually I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was telling me that she met up with this person in particular, but after she finished um her gathering, she was like, I felt so drained. I'm so tired. Like, I get it that people have their own problems and baggage and stuff, but I thought to myself and I questioned, I was like, do I really want to spend my time with this person? And that's when we started discussing, right? There's a lot of, like, I'm being very selective on how I use my time, because we are going heads down on this business, and that for me is a priority. So if that means I don't get to see anyone for months, for me, if that means I don't get to go anywhere, I'm perfectly fine with it, because it's my decision. And for me, more important than anything right now is this business. So if it requires my full attention and not seeing anyone or interacting with anyone for months, I'm perfectly fine with it, people probably are not going to be fine with it, because they're going to be like, oh, you used to go out, you used to do this, or you used to call me every once in a while, and now you don't even do that. Yes, because I'm focused on this other thing right now that is my priority. So I just it's nice to see that you have people on your side, that even when you're going through these phases, every once in a while I get a message from like those people, and they're like, hey, I know you're focused on your goals right now. I just want to let you know that I think you're doing great. uh, I like that how committed you are to your goals, and I commend that, and I think this is great. And that's the kind of people that I need right now for me. I don't need anyone telling me, oh, you don't go to these gathering, you don't go to these family reunion, you don't do these, or like, that's not what I need. So I think it's important, like when you are in the entrepreneur mindset, it's gonna be taking a toll on you. It's gonna be challenging mentally, financially, in any aspect that you can think of. It's gonna make an impact on your life. I don't need to add to all of that someone at me because I didn't reply to a message, or I didn't call them, like, or I didn't pick up the call the moment they call me. I was like, I'm busy right now. Like, I call you later when I have time. So I think it's important to have that support as well, to have that kind of people that are rooting for you on the sides, but they know that what's your focus right now, and they're not going to make you feel guilty for being on this path that you're choosing.
Exactly. Exactly. Shout out to anyone that we know that listens and is just supporting us on this path.
Yeah.
It's very much appreciated.
Yeah. So the friend and family that are like, you got this.
That's all that
That's all.
matters.
Yeah.
That's all that matters, and also just continuing to challenge yourself. Um, yeah, I find it fun,
I kind
but
of what?
I find it fun at this point to learn about myself more and challenge my limiting beliefs and what I think I can do and can accomplish. Like now, reaching out to 20 companies a day, I'm like, I could do 30. And then I'm
Hell, I
like, then
can
when
do
I
a
do
hundred.
30, I know, then when I get to that 30 mark, I'd be like, I could do 40. I'm like, I'm gonna reach out to every single company in this industry. So watch me. I will,
I love it.
But
Yeah.
really, it is all just you at the end of the day. Not everyone is cut out to be a founder of a company or a CEO. Like, it takes, you have to
Mhm.
make it your priority. You have to challenge yourself. You have to constantly be very reflective.
It takes so much
And
mental bandwidth,
it does.
right? On any single decision, like that's something that I'm starting to realize. Any decision, I can't believe like how every single decision in my life affects or relates to this business in particular. It's just like mind blowing.
Yeah. What do you mean by that?
Uh, let's say a simple decision of waking up and starting working, or waking up and uh, take care of the dishes. What's a priority? Doing the dishes or working on the business? Working on the business. And that's something for me that I personally have to struggle a lot, because I'm OCD when it comes to cleanliness. So for me, everything has to be tidy, clean, and everything. And if it's not up to that point, I get this horrible headache. I know that's something I personally have to work on. Um, but it's just like, if I don't have my environment like perfectly tidy and everything, it's almost intrusive into me getting in the proper state of mind to be able to work and being productive. So I'm like, okay, so if I don't want to spend, like, as soon as I get up, like tidying everything around, maybe I can set myself up for success the day before and I can have everything ready. So I'm the crazy lady that makes everything looks nice and tidy before she goes to bed, so the next day I don't have to wake up and do that. I can just wake up, jump in the shower, get out of the shower, and just jump in front of the computer and start doing the things that I think that are going to bring more um, reward in the end.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like those decisions. It's like, do I want to go out or do I want to spend the time outreaching to these people? Do I want to go out or do I want to do some research on a topic? Um, I'm going to talk to a friend of mine. If they call me in the middle of the day, um, I'm not going to pick up the phone because I'm busy working. Because of the fact that I'm not in physically in an office, that doesn't mean I'm not working.
Yeah.
So it's just like even with my family, I'm like I have a very close relationship with my mom. So she like at the beginning she'll be like, "Oh, you didn't talk to me at this time or you didn't call me at this," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know because I'm busy doing this other thing, and right now for me that's a priority." And I'll
Yeah.
talk to you later. That doesn't mean I'm not going to talk to you, but once I accomplish everything that I wanted to do for my day, that's when I'll have time to to get on a call with you or even like eating. Sometimes I'm like I'll munch
Yeah.
during the day, but then I'm like the other day I was like it was 10 p.m. At that time I finished doing everything that I wanted to do. And then I was like, okay, this is the right time for me to go make something, to make go make food at 10 p.m. And then I finished cooking and I was like, I'm not hungry. Might as well just save it for tomorrow. But it's like it's those decisions. It's simple things along the way on a daily basis that I have to
Mhm.
think of. It's these
It
little.
sounds like you're retraining your brain.
Yeah, I'm working really hard on it because I don't want to. I feel like I've made so much progress. We made so much progress on everything that we're doing that I feel that if I don't keep pushing myself, I'm somehow gonna fall. And I don't want to fall off. I just want to keep pushing forward.
Yeah. The the thing that I keep reminding myself is that when you continue to up level, you have to show up differently. You just show up as that next person.
And probably a lot of people are not gonna like that, right? That
It's
the other,
uncomfortable.
it is uncomfortable. It's even challenging, like within myself. I'm like, why am I doing this? Why am
Yeah.
I choosing these things? Like sometimes I have like my mental questionings with myself, and I'm like, "Ah, maybe I should just like leave all these and just go get a job at a company." And then I'm like, but is that really what I want to do? No, it's not. It's not what I want to do. So why would I keep like, but those intrusive thoughts, right? That
Yeah,
you
that's like
start
me. I'm
questioning.
like, I'm just gonna go work on a farm and delete all of my social media and throw my phone away.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But I think it's good as long as as long as we are first of all doing something that we want and we feel committed to it. I think that's the more important thing.
Of
Um,
course. It
yeah,
fuels me. Like I was talking about this with my roommate. Um I was like, I feel like my whole what gets me going to like live my life is that my whole life is this big creation and I get to be a part of making the life that I want and creating my life. Like I don't think that like just like art is just this thing that you're like, oh, the only way you're making art is if you're like painting or drawing. It's like everything is this big creation, and it just fuels me that like I get to wake up and have to be challenged every day to learn new things and like be creating myself as well and meeting new parts of myself. And I think that's what fuels me. And in any regard that I'm not doing that, I don't feel fulfilled.
It's
And
challenging. I don't know if you experience that, the uncomfortable side of things, because it's the first time you're doing it, but also when you don't do it, at least for me, when I don't do it, it's like I don't feel good about myself. I'm like, I'm not challenging myself enough. I feel like I'm not growing and I'm not showing up who I want to be. So it's this uncomfortable and like distaste for myself. And I'm like, this is not how I want to feel.
yeah, like stagnation scares me more.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not like you said, not everyone is cut up for these, like other people, like, and me, even me, for the longest time, I was like, I'd rather just go in an office and work for someone, like some company, and I'll know I'll make it because I'm good at what I do, and I'll just get by. And after years of doing that, I was like, is this really what I want to do? This is not fulfilling me at all. Like, I get home, I'm tired, I'm drained. I don't feel like I'm making any progress in life. I already, it's like I feel like I reached my the top that I can be at within the company. So I was like, no, this is not what I want. But when you are building something from the ground up for yourself, I feel like the sky is the limit,
Yeah.
right? It's like,
Hmm.
and there's a lot of people that they just like want to play it safe out there, right? They're like, oh, or even have a couple people that when I told them that I'm on this journey, they're like, oh, but why are you doing that? Why don't you just go and get a job at any job? Why don't you do that instead? But how do you tell those people that that's not what fulfills you? That's not what keeps you going.
Everyone is on their own journey and choosing different things for themselves, and what may work for them may not work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just, like, I just can't. I was like, I've tried to mold myself into the person that I thought I had to be to, get a full-time job. And I've felt so much resistance around it. And I had to really sit with myself and think, is it self-sabotage, or is it my intuition just telling me, like, no, I don't want to be just an employee. Like, I want to be something greater. I think that fuels me more than anything. Even
Yeah.
like the money, like, I'm not fueled by that. Like, my creativity feels drained when it's for like that. I feel better in these environments where I'm like, I am just like the on full creator mode, and anything's possible.
Yeah.
Um
I think at the end of the day, it's important just to follow what your gut is telling you, what you feel comfortable with. And not even comfortable, but for me, a question that I always ask myself, is this helping me grow as a person? Is this getting me closer to the goal that I have in my mind? Is it? If it's not, then there's something needs to change. And if for someone out there that's keep showing up at your job because that makes you feel good and fulfill in any aspect of your life, go for it. Because
yeah.
we're not cut off in the same way. Each person is different. If for
Yeah.
someone is like dancing, go for it. But push yourself enough so you become the best at it. I think
Yeah.
that's the important thing. Just keep pushing yourself so you know that you are on the path to being the best.
Mhm. We're
But
all fulfilled in like different ways, and I don't want to make anyone feel like bad that they are totally cool with working a 9 to 5. My life
yeah,
would be like a lot simpler and less stressful if that was the case for me. Um, but I'm sure that also working within 9 to 5 is, and corporate is also stressful, and you know has its challenges.
Each
Um,
path has its challenges.
yeah, exactly. We're just choosing our own challenges. And yeah,
So on that note, make sure to follow your gut. Do
yeah,
whatever it is that you feel that you want to do and you want to accomplish. As long as it feels good within yourself, that's all that matters, because that's gonna show. That's gonna
yeah,
show people that are fulfilled and they're happy with what they're doing. You can tell that they start differentiating themselves from the multitude. And I think that's the path that we all want to be at the end of the day, right? We want to be
mhm,
fulfilled, we want to feel good within ourselves, and we want to be great at what we're doing. So that's all that matters. Just keep trusting yourself.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, everyone.
Yes, thank you. Happy Thursday, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.